Welcome back to another Vein Oath Classic. Yeah, today we are actually going to be making a low poly map, well technically 4 of them, and this was actually a suggestion by one of you guys in the comments, which was to make a low poly map, like how to make a low poly map. To be honest, I was a bit confused on what to make, so I just decided to make the most basic map possible, which is a map like Pet Simulator X. Now, I didn't really grow up playing those games that much at all, or play those games, so I'm just assuming. I actually don't think I've ever played the game, but I know that's probably gonna make a lot of people pissed, but I'm just assuming what it's like, and I'm assuming this is the style that is kind of going for. Before we get into this video, I just want to kind of say something clear. The editing format of this video is not how I'm normally gonna do it. It's like more of a podcast, I guess, with like stuff in the background and whatnot, I guess. So sorry if it's not like the typical editing that I do. If you're looking for a more faster paced video, then you can watch this one that's on the screen. That one did pretty good, not gonna lie. But yeah, if you want a faster paced video, watch that. I'm still gonna try and keep this as entertaining as possible, but just a quick tidbit of information. So anyway, enjoy the video. Now, one thing to state is that the biggest thing about this video that you're going to see is that I'm only going to use 11 assets. 11 assets total. I mainly use 9 of them, but I make 2 of them in the video. And the 9 assets that I am using, though, are from this video, which will be on the screen. You can click the little eye in the top right corner if you really want to watch that one and see how I make the assets in Blender. But I really wanted to show the fact that you're able to use legitimately like 9 assets to make several different types of maps. I'm not going to make a full-fledged game map. I'm kind of just making reference maps, but and the one thing which sucked, which I talked about in the 10 best or most important Blender assets, I don't freaking know what I called it, some random like that, but I was saying that like the lantern or the lamppost didn't get put in because Blender messed it up or something like that, so I had to remake it in here, which kind of sucked, but it wasn't really anything too complicated. So now my goal for this video was to make 4 maps, all using the same assets, but like 2 different ones technically, but in like a very simplistic way, I guess, if that's the best way to put it. I just want to really go through the different color palettes, which I'll talk through more, which is why I'm making this pyramid, because I'm pretty sure pyramid or like a desert is like a very iconic part of those type of games, Pet Simulator X. Hardest part of making this, actually, believe it or not, was changing the colors, because I had to make it look like the desert without making it look weird, I guess. I don't know. But basically what I'm doing now is just inserting a rig and then inserting like a flat base plate and trying to scale it correctly, I guess, to make the individual maps, I guess. I don't really know what they're called, sections, I guess, or places that you unlock in the game. I don't really know, to be honest, but I'm actually just making 3 different plots right now: a kind of like lighter forest, a dark forest, and then like a desert. And again, finding the desert color, like the color of sand, was so difficult because of the lighting. I don't know why. It was so difficult to figure out the lighting and get it to look good, but I eventually found a way for it to look, again, decent. That's what I'm trying to, like, that's the biggest thing I'm trying to get at in this video, is that you don't have to make something that looks insanely good and perfect. If you wanted to make something that looks insanely good and perfect, you would spend way more time than me, which is me spending literally like an hour and 30 minutes on this or something like that. I don't know. Not that long I spent on this. So, but one thing I will say, whenever making one of these maps and using the same asset, don't keep the same color and the same size of a part and the same rotation. I forgot to make rotation and rotate this stuff, but for the mountain things, I just decided to scale it some differently and kind of make it like, but make it so it's like kind of like a pattern where one is dark, one is lighter, one is higher up or bigger, one is shorter and smaller, and kind of making it a back and forth pattern, I guess. So I copied it over for now, but I will actually delete them eventually because I'm just gonna recopy them over. So now, one of the things I think looks amazing and is good to do is to make like the foreground, or I don't know what they're called, but like the background. Basically just make things larger in the back part of it with like the mountain thingies, and it looks like more layered and stuff like that, and it looks fine. Then I just basically added trees, random trees, and trust me when I say this, just put them in random places. Doesn't matter. You can change the color of the leaves if you want to. You can change the color of the trunk if you want to. You could change literally any type of the color. Just keep it in the same color palette, I guess, of like my lighter theme of the map. And I literally just place grass random places, put the mushrooms in random places, put the rocks in random places. The fences, I just decided, yeah, you guessed it, put in random places. I just literally put things in random places and it looks fine. In my opinion, it looks a-okay. It's nothing too complicated. It's nothing too crazy to understand. Also, the lampposts I put in random places. I forgot to mention that. The only complicated part, I guess, of it is keeping things in the color palette that you're going for, which is like a lighter theme. But even then, it's not that hard to understand. There's no science to where things go, I guess, but it's really, really simple to figure out. And then all I did next was just copy the things over and flip them around. If I wanted to make it a more detailed game, in a more better game, I guess I'd probably make the thing that I copied over like different in different places, like move the mountain things in different places and stuff like that. I think that would be a better idea rather than just having a plain copy over. But to save time and show that I can make him less than 2 hours, I really wanted to show the fact that you can copy things over and it'll still look fine. And it looked fine, perfectly fine in my opinion. It was really, really simple. Really, really simple. All I did now is just tweak things where I moved things down so it wasn't like floating trees and floating grass and stuff like that. And you'll see that this video kind of loops through this stuff because, again, it's super simple. It's nothing really complicated. All I did now is just change the color palette. I just made things darker. I just made the rocks darker. I made the trees darker. I made the mountain thingies darker. All just following the same color palette. I did switch over to pine trees because I thought that would make the most sense for a darker variant of a place, I guess. I don't know what to call it, but a darker section, a darker forest. So I switched the trees, and that was like the one thing that I changed in this map. And you could literally change only one asset and you can make it look like a completely different map. It's crazy. I just changed everything to be a darker color and darker like vibe, I guess. There's no science to it. If something doesn't look good to you, then I guess just make it look good or look up reference to a darker forest. I haven't had to look up reference this whole time. I don't even know if a Pet Simulator X map looks like this, to be honest. I'm not even joking. And finally, I just literally copied stuff over and it was good like that. I didn't have to move the mountain things around, except for like the in-between part between both maps. I don't know. Again, it was super simple. It's nothing too complicated to understand. The desert map was another story though. That was difficult only because of the color palette, which was kind of hard to figure out because lighting in Roblox Studio can mess up your colors by a lot. Actually, this is a fact about the real world in general. Depending on the light that hits something, the color can look completely different compared to what it looks like in the dark. So I had to do a completely lighter color and change everything, and it was just weird. But yeah, I'm just having rocks, like changing the color of those rocks to look like a desert, I guess. I think this was the only map where I looked up a reference because I did not know what really it should look like. And that's fine. Eventually I got rid of that reference because I was like, you know what, I can do this by myself. And I almost forgot, I also made a cactus asset, which was just using Roblox resources. I don't know. I didn't want to switch to Blender. The cactus looked pretty basic and nothing too crazy, so it wasn't anything that crazy at all, to be completely honest. But that's all I did, just add a cactus, just to add one more asset because it felt a bit empty. If something seems empty to you, then you can probably try and make another asset if you really think you need one. And then for the edges, or not for the For the boundaries, I just tried and figure out what should be there. I put cactuses on the pyramids. That didn't look right. And then I looked up a reference, which you were looking up, which you saw right there. And I didn't really know what to put there. I could have done more mountain thingies, but I kind of want to separate it and do something else. But it ended up looking fine. It wasn't really that crazy. Obviously, if you had more time, you could perfect your desert map or whatever you use. And the final one, which was probably the easiest out of all of them, which was literally just a snowy place or whatever. And that's legitimately just making everything white. Literally everything is just turning to white, and then you're good. And depending on what your game is like, kind of going for, because Pet Simulator X, in my understanding, is like the most basic map that a beginner could make, which is why I'm using it. But another thing that one of you guys were talking about is that the low poly style is just kind of bad on Roblox now, because it's just repetitive. You go into a game that has the low poly feel to it, I guess, and it's just like automatically makes you feel like it's just a bad game, because like they all seem the same. They all don't have their own artistic input, I guess, or creative input when making the map. I don't know how to make it in a way that's like easy to understand for like a 4-year-old, but it just seems like a flat out copy between the games on Roblox, which is one of the biggest things I have the problem with Roblox games and Roblox developers, which is they don't really try and make a game that's like fun to play. They just make a game that's like gonna make them Robux and stuff like that, which I think is kind of sad. But the biggest thing that I'm going through this video is just like add your own artistic and creative input. Like, my assets aren't gonna be good. I don't think they're that good, to be honest, but I'm still trying to use them in a way that looks decent, I guess. And that's kind of just what I'm trying to do. And again, as I repeated several times, just the most difficult part is picking your color palette. I visualized a color palette. I don't really have a physical one. The lighter oak map, I guess, which was like a lighter green. The darker, like, you can actually just look at the ground, and that was my color palette, basically. That was my color palette. Just look at the ground, and that was the color palette for it. It wasn't anything too complicated. And then all I did next was just add boundaries, or like the things that separate the sections, because I thought, you know, I'm gonna make it as Pet Simulator X type as possible, or something like that. I don't know. I don't think I've ever played the game. Again, don't get mad at me. I'll play the game if you really want me to, but I guess there you have it. Those are the 4 maps that I made in. Here's the time on the screen: 1 hour and 29 minutes. I think. I actually have no idea. I'm just assuming it's 1 hour and 29 minutes. It felt like 1 hour and 29 minutes. But yeah, it wasn't really anything too complicated for a person to understand and to make. You just need the 10 assets. You can get them off the toolbox if you really want to. Again, please don't. I do not recommend getting anything from the toolbox, aka free models and whatnot. Make your own stuff. It makes your game feel more organic. And just in general, as again, the one dude in the comment section and I was talking about, I guess just make your game feel more non-perfect, I guess, in my opinion. Don't like aim to make your game look like all the other ones or something like that. Try and make it have a little bit of your own twist on it and something like that. Or I keep on saying something like that, but like, just make it feel like you. Make it something you enjoy, I guess, to make. You don't have to have people enjoy your game if you don't want to, but there's going to be people that do, no matter what you make, I guess. There's always those type of people that will enjoy your game. But what a person doesn't like to play is a game that's just like another game. So next time you play a game on Roblox, just think to yourself if it feels new and something different, rather than it feeling, I guess, old. And I don't know. I'm trying to be inspirational. There's no point to it. But whenever making these maps, the biggest thing I'll give you, the biggest tip, is having a color palette, or at least coming up with one that you want. So if you make like a I don't know, like a volcano map or something like that with volcanoes, if you already have a volcano asset, just come up with the color palette, which I would do like a black, red, orange, maybe yellow for like magma and colors like that. I don't know. Look up references. I always recommend references. You're not, and don't try to like straight up copy a reference. Obviously, that's why it's a reference, to give you another look at something. But yeah, in the future, most of my videos are not going to be like how-to videos and tutorials and descriptions, but if you did enjoy the video, I do appreciate it. And the final statements, I guess, would be kind of just put your own twist on things, I guess. I don't know. Again, I'm not that inspirational, I guess. Just kind of play at making random stuff, I guess. I don't know. That's kind of how I started in Roblox. Just make random stuff. See what you want to make. You want to make a freaking space station in the game? Make a space station in the game. Anyway, as I say all the time, and as I always will, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you later. Alright then. I don't even want to record that. Well. Before we get into this video, real quick, I want to let you know that this video is kind of